UAE Oman travelogue, June 2010, by Sean McHugh, July 2026. I take a week in United Arab Emirates and Oman in the relatively quiet hot season on the way to China for a teaching contract, dropping my main bag at left luggage in Dubai airport at a modest rate. I work out that buses leave from another terminal, where after asking drivers and changing halfway, I'm able to avoid costly taxis getting over to a hostel in my guidebook photocopied pages. Later, take a couple more short bus rides, plus a raft ferry across the river, for downtown, to find there's little hard sell, yet interpersonal skills in service don't come naturally, and instead, most keep to an uneasy national policy of ingratiation and veneer of civility towards rich but un-Islamic foreigners. It overlays the surliness of adopting as fundamental an arbitrary and ridiculous set of religious ideas for small minds, and then mystification over Westerners' disregard for weird given rules or expectations, and instead their direct means to ends requests. Western libertarian open-mindedness and free questioning that provides for technological innovation is opposed to Islam's fear-based society, closing down critique and thought. Traders here thank you for your business after indicating they're full of hatred and confusion over you, while personnel look down and carry on nervously with paperwork as you approach in similar uncertainty of how to deal with a normal, unindoctrinated Westerner or other successful foreigner. The recently developed environment, with modern buildings and roads supplied from a different civilization, has phony industriousness that lacks energy and vibrancy, with these being alien to the empty people and their empty culture. Islamic chant intermittently broadcast from loudspeakers complements the society's contrivance and soullessness with its unremitting gloom and sorrow, although it's without consent and has volatility and repressed anger from the extent of Islam's inhumanity and contradictions, undeserving of the people. Local women are mostly in black frocks with headscarves or complete veils, and men either in their light-colored outfit or international shirt and trousers, where they can't cope with their own sexuality, so their holy book says one of the sexes has to deny their face and personhood, while the other looks down on them as subhuman. For more conscious humanity, this is preposterous stupidity, if not for less conscious, but at least foreign non-Islamic women in the heat, as only draped in fashionable clothing and with visible attractiveness, while still causing surprise, are seemingly bracketed off without outward hostility. There's a South Asian minority from Islamic Pakistan and Bangladesh providing cheap labor, but also from India, and I call by a simple Hindu temple centered on a Shiva family painting, where the numbers attending suggest they could fill something far larger if a higher profile was condoned. Buses and even bus shelters have air conditioning, and I get to a souk for a cheap short-sleeved shirt. Later, a roommate persuades me to visit a couple of bars for self-conscious scenes pandering to Westerners and very expensive beer, and I get a distant view of the world's tallest building. Then make it to the subway alone before it closes, but miss the last bus from there, and instead share a taxi with locals also at the stop. Next day, walk gridlocked streets to the bus station, and a quality double-decker half an hour north to Sharjah to wander through more traditional indoor markets, and again past imaginatively designed and colored high-rise residential blocks, but which contrast with lower rent districts. I bus it further to Fujairah, across the peninsula, with the cooling adequate only for local darker skin physiology, and not white. The desert beyond the conurbation from the wide American-style roads is a daunting light brown plain with small faded green bushes every couple of meters, disappearing to the horizon, plus scattered settlements, before entering a great tract of peculiar small rubble pile hills that gradually get taller among occasional palm trees. 2 passengers have mobile phone calls during the journey that bring disapproval from others having to overhear them, and soon the forbidding silence returns. A young man near the front is reprimanded by the driver for his call's personal contents with, "You know you talk too much," curiously speaking in English, perhaps to lend some objectivity, when the call was in Arabic, if with broken English phrases. Phones may be neurotic and intrusive, but the complaint from the society here is against self-expression and being a person, while there is consternation and an annoyed atmosphere just from this man, with his Western-dressed woman companion, chatting normally, in an unwitting iconoclasm. The environment's apparent safety is based on a peremptory system of rules, rather than normal respect for others, while, moreover, the driver takes a few calls himself, although in the West being a serious offense and loss of license for a bus driver, indeed in the much greater concern of risks to safety. Fujairah is low-rise, and with no shortage of space, yet there are still a few stylish skyscrapers in the center, in accord with national Americanizing efforts. It's quiet, with fewer people on dusty streets and straggling cheap shops, while there are South Asian businesses about, and managers with their smaller stature. But the main shopping mall is full of international class produce, while showing they can queue in developed world style. I find a hostel condemned by the guidebook, which is excellent, and stroll to the beach with its little waves and old umbrellas and chairs, plus thick haze obscuring distant mountains. The day after, I have to get a taxi 15 kilometers to the Oman border, with there being no buses, no matter who I ask. Katmat Malaha is one of the remote border crossings, with a few buildings, lorries, sand, and blinding light, and I get through with a free ride from a white-robed official, 10 minutes to the town, as being concerned for Westerners' impressions that they'll take away. There's still no bus, so he helps me with a cheap taxi 40 minutes further south to Sohar, where I change currency from dirhams to rials in another of the region's welcome monster modern supermarkets. I also think better of coming back overland to Dubai and find an airline agent to buy a flight from Seb, west of Muscat, further on. Barren mountains with plains between predominate, but there's beauty and marginally more foliage over the border. While Oman is religiously conservative, with women blacked out and with fewer of them on the streets, and often in groups, plus almost all men in their white or occasional beige dress and headwear. Get a share taxi to Muscat, then run for a minibus leaving the taxi park, a pittance for the journey downtown, while ignoring the lying taxis, before hailing another round the mountain outcrop to the Mutra linguistic enclave. It's on a bay with a relaxed pace and fairly developed, including another Indian contingent with shops for Hindi publications and Hindu trappings, but with few budget hotels, and where, in contrast to many countries, when checking in solo, having a girl sent to your room, here they provide a box of tissues. In the morning, back round to the center, and being undecided where to go, and having run out of guidebook details, I get a bus leaving in an hour to Salalah, on the far southern coast, in a cooler, frankincense tree-growing region, over 1,000 kilometers away, with the journey including stops taking over 12 hours. The bus's metal roof has been in sunlight all morning, and conditions abroad are grim, but it's half empty to begin with, and I can lie down at leisure. The bus screens a dated and simplistic Bollywood film, with anodyne song and dance routines, but surprisingly also its euphoric contrapuntal popular music. Great craggy and intricately layered mountains surround Muscat, but the route moves inland, and most of the journey is again totally flat, with dark roasted earth on all sides. The bus drives its full speed the whole way, calling at eateries serving plain chicken or lamb and rice, plus biscuits, often with camels resting nearby, while most of the traffic on these roads is older lorries.
Women are separated at the front, but I move to the seat by the driver for a few hours to get a better look at the forsaken desert and its passing sand dune areas and spindly oil tower and machinery before the sun sets and the onboard temperature drops. The two drivers don't bother stopping the bus when they swap over and just slow it down a bit while holding the wheel, while there's no fussing with tachographs or driver's hours. Predatory taxis and touts await the bus, but I saunter off in the gloom, soon to secure a cheap room myself, then take food at an outdoor place, where I'm reminded to sense what a restaurant can comfortably provide under the tendency to avoid saying they don't have what you ask for. In the morning, go find a more salubrious hotel in this regular repressed, if safe, Islamic town, free of street creeps and drunks, spread out, with the sun passing through the zenith and my shadow beneath my feet, but featuring a sea breeze for walking. Nothing at all is said between men buying and saleswomen serving, and likewise in minibuses, I'm ignored by petrified women I tried to speak to, with drivers shaking heads at me, telling me to be quiet. There are also few black Africans here, though, and one woman talks to me about her Sudanese origins. Call into a store selling an array of pricey perfume, where women with only eyes showing can smell good but not look good, and who know it's all stupid and despicable for them.
Looking which way the ground slopes, I walk to the beach through deserted siesta-hour streets and past a banana plantation and other riotous vegetation. The waves are large and violent in contrast to northern coasts, and there are signs against swimming which no one is doing, so I contemplate up and down, watching crabs running sideways out my way back to the water. Leaving Salalah in a full bus in the morning light reveals the town set in another brown, monochrome, rubbly Martian landscape, containing weird conical hills resembling little volcanoes, and eventually, luckily, it calls at the Sebe airport. Any questions?